Hey guys, what's going on? This is Pants Art Dragon, and today we'll be doing the top 5 best mid laners for patch 5.11. The reason I'm doing this video is because I haven't done a mid tier list ever since patch 5.9, and since then some champions have been nerfed, while other champions have been emerging, and yeah, a bunch of things have been changing, and it's kinda cool to see. There's also going to be a ton of honorable mentions in this video, because well, there is so many viable mid laners, and with all that being said, let's get started. Okay, so at number 5 is going to be Azir. Alright, so before I said don't play him, but the reason behind that was because I was seeing a lot of players not playing Azir to his full potential. And then I actually saw some good players actually playing him, and it changed my mind about him. So, he's a beast late game, his AP ratios are really high, and his Sand Soldiers do a lot of damage, and he's also got long range. And he's got his ultimate to protect himself, or of course initiate and clean up the team fight. And he's got lots of zoning potential with his Sand Soldiers in team fights, because they do a lot of damage. Although some of his cons are actually pretty big. First of all, he doesn't have great base damage, it's actually pretty weak, so he does rely on items to do some damage. And that means if he does fall behind, well, he is not going to be too useful for the majority of the game until he can catch up. Second of all, he's probably a very high skill cap champion, which means if you haven't mastered him, know all his tricks, have good decision making, etc., I don't recommend you playing him. Because if you actually want to do good with him, you gotta play him to the full potential. So yeah, if you're like gold or platinum, even diamond, I wouldn't recommend you playing him. But I do think he's a very good champion at the moment because of his high AP scalings. Next up at number 4 is going to be Ekko. So this guy is actually seeing a lot of bans in Champion Select, and I can say about Ekko is that he snowballs really incredibly hard because of his high assassination potential and his pretty strong AP ratios. But not only that, it's also one thing, he does have a 2.25 second AoE stun, which is incredibly strong, and it is extremely rewarding if you can stun a lot of people, or even just one person, but at the same time, it is also hard to land. But I mean, you do get a shield which can also turn things around, if in the right moment. Either way, I do feel like it is a pretty game-changing skill. Along with his ultimate, which you know has a 1.3 AP ratio on it for some reason, or just being a handy escape to get out of sticky situations. Or just using it in lane to trade with the enemy to restore all the damage you just took. Either way, it is a really powerful skill, and I feel like a lot of high skilled players won't be hit by the ultimate, since you can see where his ultimate would land, but it does cause some kind of psychological zoning potential in your enemies. He also has a lot of tools to escape from enemies. For instance, he has a Q to slow the enemies down, he has his W to slow the enemies down, and he has a tumble with his E. And last but not least, he has his ultimate to return wherever he was before. He's also really good in small team fights because he does have a lot of CC and damage without the fear of being locked down by enemies. But other than that, he does have some cons in him. First of all, he doesn't really have the greatest laning phase, since he does have a fair bit of mana costs for his kit. And in team fights, he doesn't have the biggest presence. He'll probably just hop in, do his burst, and has to use his ultimate to hop out, and then wait for his cooldowns to come up. But other than that, if he does get a lead somewhere, he's actually pretty snowbally and can roll the game pretty fast. Next up at number 3 is going to be Twisted Fate. You know, Pretty Strong has a semi-global ultimate to go on the side lanes and gank them, so he has that pressure. And I do feel like in this kind of tank meta, he can kite it out as long as he has the mobility to not get caught out by their spells. And Twisted Fate in this current meta is actually pretty strong because there's not a lot of assassins, so whoever could get to him quickly and finish him would definitely put him out of his misery. But if you can keep unloading those wild cards and cold cards onto the enemy team, it's going to be kind of a problem for the enemies to deal with. And also, if he does have a relatively safe lane and not get zoned out too much, I feel like he has more presence than, say, the mid laner if he goes even, just because he does have that semi-global ultimate to gank the other lanes and cause pressure on them. Next up, we have Varus at number 2. Okay, so this is a very weird pick to see in the mid lane. I bet you guys are wondering why he's here. Okay, so think Jace. Think his EQ combo. Now put that onto someone who has an 8-second cooldown, but not really because of the way they changed Varus's Q. And the 8-second cooldown is also reducible by cooldown reduction. So now you got this Ballista shooting your enemies every 4 seconds. And this Ballista also has a really good ultimate, which is good at initiating or counter-initiating. And now you got this Ballista who can also initiate too. And also giving him the potential to be an AD carry later in the game, he doesn't really fall off. And the thing I like about Varus is that if you are doing really good, your poke will hurt a lot, but even if you're a bit behind, your Q still has really good base damage and it doesn't really rely on, you know, items too much. So your poke will still be relevant as long as you get some levels in you. And even better if you do have some items too. And still at number 1 is going to be Ahri, in my opinion. Alright, so again, she does have a decent laning phase because of her wave clear with her Q. She can all-in the enemy if she wants to with her ultimate and charm. And has a lot of upfront damage with her spells, since all of her spells do damage. She also has decent wave clear, so she just tosses out the Q and the backline is cleared at level 9. And she's actually pretty ungankable unless you have hard CC. Because you know it's pretty hard to chase a Fox who has her ultimate or something that gives her a lot of movement speed for a short burst a second. So yeah, she's a relatively safe laner, definitely doesn't need to burn her flash too much in certain ganks. And yeah, I just feel like she's overall consistent. She's an assassin mage type of deal. The only thing I feel like that holds her back is that they nerfed her damage a lot in previous patches a long time ago. But that's about it. I still think she's really good. Next up, we'll be doing some honorable mentions, and first up is going to be Cassiopeia. Okay, so her late game got nerfed, whatever, that doesn't mean too much because her late game is still insane. But they did nerf the E mana refund a bit, so that means she has to manage her mana in lane a bit more efficiently. But I don't think it's too much of a big deal since she is still gaining mana even when she kills a minion. Although I do feel like it does hurt a bit. Next up is going to be Viktor, and yeah, he's pretty good, especially I guess in this meta of tanks. He can kind of kite around them, and he has a shield to protect them from their minuscule damage. And his burst can surprise someone with how fast his spells do come out. And yeah, he's, you know, a pretty decent mid laner, he's viable. There's a lot of people picking him. I feel like there's stronger mids, but that's just me. And next up is going to be Annie. Again, she has that ultimate to destroy teamfights instantly. And she's pretty game changing even if she's behind or ahead because her initiation is so strong. Also, when she gets boots in mobility, she can roam to other lanes and, you know, pick up a few kills here and then. Next up is going to be AP Kog'Maw, who you know is really strong, especially with Luden's Echo enhancing his poke. Even though that item did get nerfed, it's still pretty good on champions. But even if he didn't have Luden's Echo, I still feel like he's really strong because when he hits level 16 and he has a bunch of these tanks protecting him, he's just gonna wipe the enemy clean before the team fight even starts. The way I see it, if he's level 16 and everyone's kind of protecting him, he will eventually win you the game. Next up is Ziggs. He's a pretty decent viable mid laner, but I do feel like they're stronger. But again, if you do want to play him, go for it. He's relatively safe, so there's nothing to really worry about if you don't, say, main mid lane and you don't have a lot of passive champions to play from. There's Cho'Gath mid also if you want to pick from. Very strong if he does come out of the laning phase with a lead, or even if he just goes even because he gets free health and he has very high AP ratios. He just has a lousy laning phase because he can get poked down and he's also melee and he is really easy to gank. Next up is going to be Jace. So right here, his W and E didn't really get changed. The only thing that really got buffed on him was his Q damage, and having that extra Q damage could actually make him, you know, very good in the mid lane right now, as his Power Blast did go up by 40 damage at max rank, and a bit more when combined with Acceleration Gate. Although he is an honorable mention right now, I'm not sure if he'll actually be like maybe top 5 later if people start seeing he's really good with that buff on his Q. Next up is going to be Vladimir. You've seen him a lot of times in the mid lane. I prefer him in the top lane still, but he does work if he can survive that early game and pressure from some of his matchups. Hey guys, so thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did enjoy this video, maybe you'll enjoy top 5 best AD carries, top 10 best junglers, or even top 5 best top laners. I know for AD carries it does say patch 5.9, but it's relatively the same as what I would do if I made it right now. And junglers and top laners will be released sometime later this week, so be sure to look out for that. And again, thank you guys for watching this video. Subscribe right there to join the No Pants Party, and I'll see you guys next time.